Hello everyone and welcome to my first tutorial video here. We will today make a mold for casting some dice. This will be the first serious start with just the open face mold. And what we need for this I put on here. First of all, you need some dice that you want to cast off. Then some clay. In this case it's a non-drying clay for kids. You just need to make sure there's no sulfuric or acidic stuff in it that maybe interfere with your silicone to cure. Some basic sculpting tools. I got this set from Amazon, I think. I got these metal spatulas to work with. I really like this one. And also some sort of container you can pour your mold in. In this case I just trimmed off a plastic cup. Okay, we grab the dice and we look for the face that we want to be the open face. Mostly people tend to use the one. In this case the font is pretty easy to replicate later. Then you take a little bit of your clay and start putting it onto the surface. Give it a little push, you see it squeezes out to all the sides, and then you start roughly bringing it into shape to follow the contours of your face. So you start to push that stuff back inwards, push it down, back inwards, push it down, and so on. It's a forth and back to follow the contours. You see it quickly starts to follow that. I'm prepared, so I already did this to this one here. Just a few things to notice here. Try to make this section here straight, to have some clean straight walls. Also, if you take a closer look, and my focus will follow it, you can see here is the spot here at this part where the edge is started to round off, and right at this point I set my edge. I think this will be a good spot. That's easy to sand, and you have a little bit of a reference where you need to stop. So you can of course go a little bit further over here with your clay, but then you have no reference where you need to stop sanding down the stuff. Then everything is flattened out and we can put it inside our container. Just put it inside here, give it a little push to stick it to the surface, and that's it. So far that's the parts you need to do to set up for the silicone to cast. So we will see us in a few moments when I make everything ready to cast the silicone. So we are in the workshop. I already weighed in all my components for my silicone. I will start to make a little playlist with good tutorial videos on how to work with all kinds of materials. So YouTube is already full of good sources for that, so I think I don't need to explain this all the time again. You can also see here are my already worked out setups. For the first video you will see there are now different kinds of molds because I did this all in one row, so I just took separate footage for everyone, but casting the silicone is all the same for all these sections. So if you have your materials, make sure to give them a good mix. Carefully mix them, you don't want to mix too much bubbles in them. I also can recommend using a metal spatula. Normally I would now put this into a vacuum chamber to degas it, but because we're doing some beginner tutorials here, I will do all the molds without that. What's now an important part, you need to pop these bubbles that you mixed in, and to do so you can, on the first part, tap everything. This helps to raise the major bubbles, but the rest of this will come if you do the so-called high toss, so you pour in a long and thin stream from above. This causes the material in this area to become very thin, and the surface tension will then try to squeeze the material together and hold it all together, so air bubbles are additional surface area which costs more energy to produce, so these will be pushed outside to pop. So if you steadily pour this from a high point, always on the lowest spot, the material will flow and seek its own level. Just make sure you have a little bit of material over the surface to have a minimum thickness, mostly about 5 millimeters, 6 millimeters, quarter of an inch is good. Now this one and the last one. So now I got only a tiny bit left. I always use this as a reference to see if everything's cured. So when everything's fine, you will see that also this nearly translucent section here, which is so thin, is fully cured, so you can peel it off. That's always a good sign that the cast worked. So here we are after the silicone is cured. So give it a quick check and you can see here this thin stuff peels off easily. It's just stuck to the bottom, but this part, as thin as it is fully cured. That's always a good sign. So this is good. And now we take these, and I will take these out and we see us in a moment. Okay, so our mold is cast and cured. Now we need to open it. These soft cups just need a little stripe with a knife, sometimes a little bit more, and then you can just peel them off. You should always wear some gloves, because in the rare case that some of the stuff is not properly mixed, you don't want to get in touch with the uncured material. So from this point on, it's straightforward. We just push it a little bit to the sides, and then with some pressure from the underside, you see the die pops right out. You can remove the little clay part and remove the die. So this mold is not coated so far, so some talcum powder or mold release will help to get your dies out in the future. So let's have a look if we can see the inside. There we have our numbers. All the edges look clean and crisp. Also this part here at the top, you see on the bottom side, this is this little flimsy soft edge that I meant before, but is on this surface it's no problem, but we don't want to have that on the inside where it's touching the die. So this mold is done. Here you can see there were a lot of bubbles inside. They rise to the surface. On this part we don't have any bubbles left, so you can get these tiny bubbles with a pressure pot. But so far this looks pretty good, so we're on to testing the mold in the next video. But that's so far. from making an open face mold. Of course, this is very much material, so some smaller cups or multiple dies, maybe a complete set in one row in a bigger space, might be a good idea to save up on material and to have a complete mold for a complete set. Yeah, so that's so far from this point. Hope you liked it, and I hope to see you in the next video for the next tutorial. And for any information you might need, use the comment section below. I try to help out as good as I can, and if I find there's a point I need to redo everything, I'll do a new version of this video, maybe with some better skills. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next part.